Hello, everybody out there. This video is going to be a little different today because, as you can see, I'm in a hotel room. I'm not in my studio. For those of you who don't know, I'm up in Olympia, Washington, trying to battle some anti-gun legislation to just try to be a voice and be a presence. And I think I have Funyuns crumbs all over my shirt here. But I want to make a video today, not about what I'm doing up in Olympia. I'll do a video later about that. And if you want to know what's going on minute by minute up here in Olympia, pretty much, I need to trim my mustache. You can follow me on Instagram. Plug there. But what I want to talk about today is something that apparently is a news story that I didn't know was a news story, and I still can't imagine why it's a news story. But it was something someone asked me about last night when they asked me about, how do you feel now that the media has admitted they got it wrong about this kid that was in the face of the Native American and that he's a good guy? And when they asked me that question, I was like, I just think the kid's a dick. I think the kid's a little dickhead. And I still feel that way. A lot of people say, well, you need to watch everything. Well, I haven't watched the news coverage, so I'll have to address the news coverage in a specific way. But I watched an hour and 50 minutes of a video last night that showed that whole situation. And I want to address some of the things apparently the media is saying and some of the things that are reality. First off, I want to address this notion that these kids from the Catholic school, although I will say right now, I am not a fan of preparatory school kids, especially Catholic preparatory school kids. When I did my student teaching, I had to spend 6 weeks in one of these schools, and they are the most privileged little assholes I've ever run into in my life. They're little jackasses, but so are all fucking teenagers mostly. So like I say, if you say, like, if I said, that teenager right there's a fucking scumbag, that's not even like a half a degree worse than what I would say about most teenagers. I feel people who are under the age of 25 shouldn't be allowed to leave their house except to go to work. Just the way I feel about it. But I want to address whether these kids, these Catholic school kids, were doing anything wrong. They weren't. They weren't doing anything wrong. I know that people are saying in the media, this is being portrayed as this bunch of arrogant kids were doing this, and they were being bad kids, and they were doing bad things. They weren't. They weren't doing anything wrong. In fact, they were showing great restraint. There were some bad people there, but they were those black Israelites, which I don't even know what that means. But those were the bad people. The people that were screaming at the pro-life people, calling them, rapists and pedophiles, and that were screaming at those Catholic kids, calling them future school shooters, that kind of garbage. There were some bad people there, but unfortunately they were black, so the media is not going to say those were bad people. I'm an equal opportunist when it comes to calling out jackasses. I don't care what the color of their skin is. So the notion that these kids did anything wrong as a group is completely false. And I can't believe the media would even try to portray that as being true. It's very clear that they were responding to a bunch of angry people shouting disgusting things by chanting school chants and dancing around and not acting violently. And nothing wrong with that. So those kids did nothing wrong. The school should not be ashamed of their kids. They should be proud of their kids. Except for one, and I'll explain why later. I don't like the one kid. And then let's talk about the Native American guy. And a lot of people are like, he's a professional protester, blah, blah, blah. I don't care if he's a professional ball licker. I mean, I don't really care. All I can judge on is what he was doing there that day. And from what I've heard from him, he didn't really have anything that bad to say about the kids in general. He said that most of them danced along with him and danced to the drums, and it ended up in a positive outcome. But he said it was a very tense thing that he walked into. And he admitted he walked into it. Now, he didn't get anybody's face or confront anybody, really. That didn't happen the way a lot of people seem to think it happened. I mean, he did come face to face with someone, but it wasn't him confronting someone. But like I say, I don't really care about him other than the fact of just dealing with what he did, because I don't know anything about him and don't want to pass any judgment on him because I didn't see him do anything wrong. But he said, I put myself into a bad situation where two groups were squaring off against each other, and he thought it was going to get violent, and he thought he could calm it down. Whether that's true or not, that's up to only he knows. But I see the potential for that being very true, because he saw these group of teenagers and this group of black Israelites. I don't know what black Israelites are, but based on their actions, I judge them as bad people. And based on my prejudices against anyone under the age of 25, I kind of would prejudge the Catholic school kids as little assholes too. Not saying they are, because I just said they aren't. I'm just saying that's how I would prejudge them if I was this Indian guy. Or, excuse me, Native American guy. I'm not intentionally being insulting. I don't do words good. Me no do words good, is what I should say. But he walked into the group and tried to get between them and tried to make a counter sound, distract attention away from what could turn violent. And I commend him for that, because he was putting himself in a dangerous situation. But this guy's, he's an older guy. He's a Vietnam veteran, so I have respect for him to that degree, So he admitted he put himself in this situation. And if you watch the video, it's very clear, like I said, who the bad guys are. It's very clear the kids aren't bad guys. The Native American guy doesn't appear to be a bad guy. Now, he walks into the crowd of the kids, and the kids pretty much separate. They kind of spread around. They give him room, and they give his group room. Because him and his group were there for an actual event for the Native Americans. They had a permit. They were there. They were supposed to be doing what they were doing. The kids were leftovers from an event that happened earlier that was a permitted event. So the Native American people were doing what they were doing. Most of the kids moved out of the way, gave room. They didn't surround them. They didn't act violently towards them. This is not a representation of the violent youth or a culture under Trump or anything like that. Because last time I remember, I don't think Trump has a problem with Native Americans. I've never, other than maybe he's like mad that they actually run casinos well, and he's one of the few people I've ever known bankrupted a casino. But, other than that, I've never heard anything public about he has a problem with Native Americans. So I don't know anybody following him would have a problem with Native Americans. But that aside, like I said, this isn't any of those things. This was some black Israelis or Israelites causing problems. Some people drowning them out, which I think is every bit their right. And then this guy walking in. Then we come to all the other kids, like I said, spread out, gave them room, gave them space. Didn't surround them, gave them space in a respectful manner, the Native American guy and his group. Then this one kid decided he wasn't going to spread out and give him space. He stood there smirking in the guy's face. I don't know what he was thinking or why he was doing what he was doing, but I can tell you one thing, to me it was disrespectful. I don't care if you think the old guy was right or wrong. I know lots of people that are old that are wrong. I still am respectful to them, especially a veteran. So when this kid decided to just stand there and smirk, he didn't think he was diffusing anything. No one ever diffuses anything by standing in someone's face. If he wanted to diffuse it, he would have walked away like all of his classmates did. He stood there in the guy's face, smirking. I think he kind of knew that was his moment on camera, too, because now he said, I knew people had cameras and blah, blah, blah. And his attorney released a statement saying he was trying to diffuse the situation. For one, why do you get an attorney if you didn't do anything? And plus, why is an attorney even needed here? Whether you like what the kid did or not, there was no crime committed that day. There was no offense worthy of even expulsion from school. The little kid that was a dick that I think wasn't respectful to his elders didn't do anything that should get him suspended from school or expelled from school or charged with a crime or anything like that. He didn't do anything illegal. He was just disrespectful. And that's not illegal. I think the only crime there committed is that someone, like a parent or a school teacher, didn't grab him by the ear and says, we don't get in our elders' faces. Let's just put it this way. If my kid was standing in the grocery aisle trying to choose Pop-Tarts, what Pop-Tarts he wanted, and this old lady or old man starts coming down the aisle just pissed off, like just angry at the world, fuck everybody, get out of my way, blah, blah, blah. And my kid, had headphones in or didn't see him or saw him and just didn't react and was stood there like, what do I want? And the person comes up to them and my kid just stood there. I'd grab my kid by the ear and get out of the lady's way or get out of the gentleman's way, be respectful. Even if I thought the person was a total asshole, because that's how kids should react to their elders, unless the elder's trying to do something that they shouldn't do to them. But everybody's not a priest. But that's the thing. That's my point. I would have never behaved like that to an adult when I was this kid's age. My parents would have never allowed me to behave that way when I was that kid's age. I wouldn't allow my kids to behave that way when they were that kid's age. If I saw a video of my kid standing in the face of an elderly veteran smirking, I would not care what the circumstances were leading up to it. I wouldn't care what his ill-conceived intentions were. Like, I was trying to de-escalate. I'd be like, don't give a fuck. I taught you better. So as far as why the media would try to make this into something when it's absolutely nothing, I saw it on Twitter and I'm like, this is no more newsworthy than the latest cat video. But apparently they made a big deal out of it. I still haven't seen the news media coverage of it, by the way. I watched Shep Smith a little bit ago, and I didn't see any of it. I've still got it on right here, actually muted, but I haven't seen anything about it. Right now they're talking about Democratic hopefuls court black voters. Nothing to do with what they're talking. Now they're showing, what's her name? The Native American lady. What's her name? Coincidentally. Elizabeth Warren. But like I was saying, this event was a non-event. If they wanted to cover anybody there that was doing something heinous, it should have been the black Israelites. That's who they should have been covering. If they want to deal with parenting, which is teaching your kid to be respectful, even if you have to walk away and bite your tongue when you're a kid, that's, I guess, a story. It's not a news story, though. But that's the only problem I have with this. That one kid who I think's a little dickhead and should be taught better by his parents or his teacher. Not charged with a crime, not demonized, not expelled from school. Now, I know the school's looking into it and said, if this, we could even expel him for this. I'm like, why? I mean, I guess it's Catholic school. You could paddle him, maybe, is what they do. I think that I wouldn't object to that. I don't think it's doing good, but I wouldn't object to that. So I'm just like, why is this a story? And if they want to make a bad guy, why isn't the black Israelites? And if they want to just do a piece on modern parenting, and this is how modern parenting fails, great. But that should be in the Lifetime section or whatever, public interest. It shouldn't be in the news. Because, like I said, the Catholic school kids as a whole, I commend what they did. The Native American guy, I commend what he did. Now, let's also add, he could have backed away from the kid, too. And being mature, he probably should have. But I'm saying, I wouldn't be his parent. He's not a child. I think the people who are in charge of the child should have taught the child better. Because sometimes the adults are assholes, too. And when it comes down to when an adult and a child are evenly assholes face to face, I'm sorry, the child should acquiesce to the adult, just out of respect. Because let's say the adult might have reason to be an angry jerk or jackass now. I doubt the kid does, especially not a preparatory Catholic school kid. Those kids are usually rich, and one that apparently whose family can afford a PR firm and a lawyer to make statements. So I'm not worried about his reasons to be angry. I am concerned that I will say he has every right to be disrespectful. And then everybody else has every right to say, what a disrespectful little prick. But they don't have to say, oh, he was the representation of hatred in this country or the representation of discrimination and racism. That just isn't the case. And I know I've said that a dozen times now, but I just can't express enough how that isn't the case. He's a 17-year-old kid, I assume from the fact that he's a junior, who acted like a 17-year-old kid would act when they think nobody's watching. The only difference is he knew somebody was watching, and he still chose to do it. I left my 15-year-old at the mall the other day because he was supposed to meet a friend and his father. And when I found out the father was just picking him up later, I was like, oh, no, I'm not leaving my he's not even 15 yet. He won't be 15 for 3 months. I'm like, I'm not leaving you in the mall with your friends by yourselves with no parental supervision. All I need is a video later of you and your friends being jackasses, and I have to explain to people why I failed as a parent. So I'm like, I'm going to sit down here at the sporting goods store and be here the whole time in case anything happens. And then when the other kid's father comes and gets y'all, I'll go home. I'm like, I'm not being at home while you're unsupervised at the mall. I'm going to be somewhere where if something is going down, I can be there in 2 minutes to yank your ass out of there by the ear and explain to you why you're never doing that again. So this has been a really long and rambly video, but I got nothing to do. I'm sitting in my hotel room and I'm going to be back over to the hearings till tomorrow. So maybe I'll do a live chat later if I can figure out how to do a live chat on this thing. But until then, that's all I wanted to say. And I know I said a lot. Well, actually, I said a little. I just said it several times on each topic. But, if you want people to remember something, you got to say it several times. Either that or I could just take my top off, and you'd remember that it's because of the fact that I had my top off. But I think you'd much rather just have me repeat stuff. So for now, I'm going to say that's all I wanted to say today. Maybe I'll talk to everybody live later tonight, but for now, just going to sign off.